Hello and welcome to our scoop. Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoy this video. Story 1. Am I wrong for telling my husband that if he wants someone to stay home with our baby, he can do it? For context, I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant. My husband, 29M, and I, 30F, met in college and have been together for 8 years, married for 2. Our relationship has always been solid and progressive. My husband has never been much of a traditionalist despite growing up in a very stereotypical family, had 2 siblings and a stay-at-home mom. His dad worked. Up until recently, we've agreed on nearly everything, save for small things, in our marriage and how to raise kids. However, 2 days ago, we were talking about baby stuff, and my husband started mentioning that he thought maybe one of us should stay home with the baby for a while and not go back to work after our maternity and paternity leave is over. We both work in tech and make good money and have great benefits. I get 20 weeks of leave after the baby is born. He gets 12. We were trying to decide if we should stagger our leave so someone could be home with the baby until 6 months, the age where most places near us will start daycare. My husband said that he read that it's better for the baby to have a parent home for the first year. So I asked him, thinking nothing of it, if that's really something he'd consider since he might have to quit his job. He asked why he would have to quit since I should obviously be the one to stay home with the baby. I asked him if he was serious and he said yes. The mom should be the one to stay home. I said, how are we going to make that work on just his income? For context, I make about 3 times what my husband does. It's never been an issue and never mattered to me. I just finished my master's earlier than he did, we both have them, and went into a more specialized field. We both make good money, but it's my job primarily that pays for the lifestyle we have. So I asked him what we were going to do for a year on 1/4 of our income with a new baby. He got a little upset and said I shouldn't even bring that up and that he makes good enough money to provide for us and I shouldn't question him. I got mad and said it wasn't realistic and it was silly for the person who made more money to quit their job, especially since he's the one who thinks someone should be with the baby extra time. I was fine with sending our baby to daycare starting at 6 months. The fight blew up from there. Me saying he's being sexist and not considering my feelings at all. I refused to back down and he ended up taking off after I said he should be the stay-at-home parent if he wants one so bad. And him saying he didn't deserve to be emasculated just for suggesting I should stay home like a good mom. I talked to some of my family and his family about it and the answers are kind of split. So am I wrong for bringing up the pay disparity and telling him that unless he's the one to stay home, the baby is going to daycare? Update. I was reading through a ton of comments last night and got really nervous, wondering if maybe I was wrong about my husband being progressive. A lot of people were asking why we didn't talk about all this before we got pregnant, and the thing is, we did. We had agreed on daycare. And, for the people suggesting a nanny, I've begun looking into it, but they are really difficult to find sometimes, because we both wanted to keep our jobs that we love. My husband has been acting weird and quiet since we fought. But this morning I finally sat him down and was basically like, what is going on? This doesn't seem like you. Some of the comments here got me thinking about what his family might be pressuring him to do. So I asked about that and a ton of stuff came out. He said he brought up the staggered leave to some people in his family at dinner a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't there. And a few of them thought someone should stay home longer. And his brother laughed and made some jokes about my husband being a housewife/stay-at-home mom. His brother, 35, divorced, considers himself to be a man's man and has a lot of sexist views. So he's made jokes before about me being the breadwinner. So after hearing this, my husband snapped a bit because some of his coworkers and his older brother have laid into him a bit about the fact that I make more money and have a better job title, calling him a trophy husband and other dumb stuff like that. And it made my husband feel insecure. So he lashed out a bit at me and that's why we fought. He's admitted that he felt really bad about it, which is why he's kind of been avoiding me. We have now agreed to look into a counselor and more into a nanny service. And he has admitted that he doesn't mind the idea of taking a few unpaid months to stay home. He's just really worried about his brother and friends' jokes. We are doing much better now. Opinion. I'm so glad that you guys resolved the issue and are figuring things out together. Your husband had a moment of weakness, but it's great that he had enough self-awareness to realize where he was wrong and what even caused him to react that way in the first place. The communication is key. Keep up the good work. I wish both of you and your baby the absolute best. Story 2. Am I wrong for telling my fiancé that if he expects me to contribute 50-50, we have to make some serious lifestyle changes? My 26F fiancé, 26M, sat me down yesterday and gave me a long talk about how he feels like I don't contribute enough to the household, particularly in the financial sense. I was a bit caught off guard by this, but was willing to hear him out, since he wasn't wrong. He makes a lot more than I do, and we've always split bills accordingly, which ends up being about 80% him. I asked what he wanted me to pay now, and he was adamant about it being 50-50. I asked if everything was okay with his job, or if he needed to take fewer hours, and he wouldn't answer me. I honestly wouldn't have gotten upset if there seemed like an actual reason behind it, but he just said he'd been thinking about it a lot, over and over. Every time I asked what brought him to this conclusion, what was going on. And eventually, he just said, "This is how it's going to be. Take it or leave it." Those exact words. In response to literally everything I said. Full shutdown. No explanations. I told him that was fine, I'll take it, and then asked if he'd made a Zillow account yet, or expected me to. He looked confused, and asked why we would need a Zillow account. I explained that there is no way I can afford half rent on our current place, so we'll probably have to move into a one-bedroom apartment. He got mad and asked why I didn't have savings. I told him that I do, but I'm not paying rent out of my savings, because that's a terrible and unsustainable idea. I also began to go over what our new food budget would be, our new entertainment budget, and that we'd probably have to sell the cars and get one less expensive one because I can't afford half of the payments on an Audi and a Land Rover. Then I explained that date nights would probably have to be reduced too, and we could still do, like Buffalo Wild Wings or something, but I preferred Thursday nights because you get 2 orders of boneless wings for one. Basically, if he wants me to pay half, we're living within my means, not his anymore. He kind of agreed to it. But since then, he's been incredibly angry. He's not saying or doing anything, but it's like he's walking around the house in this cloud of pissed off. I sent him 6 Zillow listings, all of which he's called uninhabitable for various reasons, some of which I think were valid, others I disagree with. He's now saying that I'm being unfair and manipulative, and that he tried to come to me with a serious concern about our relationship and I'm making it impossible for him to talk to me, and bulldozing over him. So am I wrong for my suggestions? Comments. You have to get to the bottom of this. Fast. Put the brakes on the wedding plans until you get this resolved. Of course, ideally both of you should feel the way you split financial responsibility is fair, whatever that means for you. But that doesn't mean 50-50 necessarily. These kinds of feelings don't pop up out of nowhere. Either someone has been whispering in his ear or he's been holding his feelings about money back for a while. But more importantly, I don't like how he issued an ultimatum without an explanation. He clearly wasn't happy with your ideas on compromise or adapting your budget, which were very smart and reasonable by the way. There should be no big decisions or changes in a marriage decided by one party and or without discussion. Does he not think he owes you an explanation for this? What is he really pissed off about? Honestly, him not explaining any of this to you, making demands, and walking around pissed off is bad enough in an actual marriage, but it's unacceptable at this stage of relationship. I don't think I could stand to live with someone like this. I don't think you deserve to either. It sounds like malicious compliance, without the intent of being malicious. That's just an extra perk, and what she is doing and suggesting is completely logical. You don't live in the means of the highest earner. Everyone else would be drowning trying to keep up. Good for her. And on the plus side, he's kinda showing her who he is. I hope she gets to the bottom of why he had such a sudden change up. Opinion. I definitely agree with both of those comments. You did the right thing. Don't question yourself. Question him. Your suggestions are the smartest thing to do based off of his request. So a conversation does need to be had regarding his reaction and what the actual problem is. I hope everything works out.